Okay. Now let me get some basic information on you. What's your full name, Wiley? What's your full name?
Wiley Spurlock.
You have a middle initial?
No.
Where are we? What's your address here?
3834 Mount Vernon Avenue,
Good.
Cincinnati.
Were you married?
I was married a long time ago. My wife's been gone a long time.
She died?
Yeah.
What was her name?
Hazel.
When did she pass away? Do you remember?
You remember Tim?
Tim, do you remember?
About 18 years ago.
About 18 years ago?
Yeah.
About 2005-ish?
Let me see here. I got a picture of the headstone.
All right. How many children do you have?
That one standing right there.
Just one child?
Yeah. He ain't much of a child anymore. He pretty well fills the doorway up.
How old are you, Tim?
62 years old.
6'2"?
62.
What's your birthday, Wiley?
January 1, 1925.
Oh, you're born on New Year's.
Yeah, I brought the new year in.
All right. Where were you born?
2003.
Pardon?
She died in 2003.
203? So she'd been gone almost 20 years.
Tim, where was I born?
Big Creek, Kentucky.
Yeah, I wasn't born here. I was born, that's right, Big Creek, Kentucky.
In Clay County.
Big Creek?
Yeah. Clay County is a county. It was.
What was your mom and dad's name?
Howard and Effie.
Howard?
Yeah, my father was Howard.
And your mother was
Effie. E-F-F-I-E.
What did your dad do?
Farmer. More than anything else, he was a farmer.
What did your mom do? She work outside the home, or she just raised children?
She just helped raise the children.
All right. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, there was 10 of us all together.
10 children? Or 8 children and your parents? Or 10 children?
10 children in the family.
How many of those names do you know?
Oh, I know all the names.
All right. Tell me.
Well, there was Helen, the oldest. Oma, O-M-A, Oma. Irene.
Put it on. I have to fight with him to put it on.
Lloyd. Lloyd. See who? Well, Lloyd is.
There was Lloyd, you.
And then me after
then,
Lloyd.
Of course, there's Helen.
That's 5. We got Helen, Oma, Irene, Lloyd, and Wiley.
Okay. Howard.
Howard?
Howard. Tom. And Farmer.
His name was Farmer?
Yeah. And then he had one brother that died as an infant.
Who was that?
His name was Watt.
Watt?
Yeah.
Like 40 watts? W-A-T-T?
Yeah.
Yeah. W-A-T-T, I believe.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9.
Did you mention Watt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watt died in infancy.
And Dad would be. Yeah.
Well, welcome them in,
Come in.
Tim.
Come in.
Hey.
This is Susan?
Hello. Oh, it's already going on. Okay.
Come on in.
Hey, Wiley.
Is somebody Susan?
That's me, Pat.
How are you?
I'm good.
Nice to
Good.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
I'm Mary.
Okay, so you came with the camera. Wiley, good
Hi.
morning. Good to see you, my friend.
Somebody can
Good
sit
to
over
see
there.
everybody.
You won't be on camera.
With my bad eyes, it's good to see anybody.
So we need one more. We need one more. Helen, Oma, Irene, Lloyd, Wiley.
Corporal.
Huh?
Opal.
Oh.
You got Opal?
No, I have Oma. Opal.
Opal and Oma.
That's his brothers and sisters.
That's 10. Where'd you go to school?
I went to, it was a Big Creek Elementary, I guess,
Okay.
school.
Did you go to high school?
I was telling you that.
I went 2 years in high school, and that is Mr. Adams owned a big old field, and he had a big unfinished building, but it was finished enough that they could hold school classes in it.
Okay.
And I had my 2 years of high school in that big old building
Okay.
at the property at Big Creek, Kentucky.
Okay. You went to high school for 2 years, then what did you do?
Well,
Did you work on the farm or what?
I worked on the farm for a year. I decided that Kentucky didn't offer any opportunities for jobs, so I said, "Well, I'm going to go
That was
to
after the war.
Cincinnati."
That was after the war.
Yeah.
So, did you?
Oh, I went to the war first.
So, did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
And
I drafted, and they didn't waste no time.
what?
They got me in the service in a
You have
hurry.
those papers you had?
After I was I signed up, I registered because it was a law that when you got 19 years old, you had to register back then. And when I was 19, I registered, and with a short time, I was overseas.
So you were drafted, and you were drafted July 14th, 1943.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess that's the right date.
And then you went into active duty on July 28th, 1943.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you were doing when Japan raided Pearl Harbor?
I don't know what. Let's see. I went there about
How did you find out about that?
on the radio.
On the radio?
Yeah, back then.
What were you doing? Were you in school or were you working somewhere?
I'm trying to think.
I'll take your time.
I wasn't working anywhere. I was still on the farm
Okay.
helping my dad
Well, that's work.
on on the farm.
That's work.
I was helping him, and I did that until I was drafted into the service.
So you went into the Army.
Yeah. And immediately I was,
Now you're going to be practice looking up at the camera.
oh,
Can you see his face very well?
I see his face perfect.
oh,
Okay. Keep your face up so the camera can see you.
I tilt this hat back.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Okay. When they drafted you, where did you go to sign up? Cincinnati,
Manchester, Kentucky,
Manchester, Kentucky.
the county seat. And it was the county where I lived at that time,
Clay County.
Yeah.
Clay County.
All right. After you signed up, where did they send you for boot camp?
I'm trying to think if they sent me first to Texas or if they sent me directly into Europe.
You
Or
went to Texas.
You would have gone to boot camp. You would have gone for training.
You went to Texas.
well, I went, Camp Barkley, Texas.
Camp what?
Camp Barkley,
Barclay.
yeah, Texas.
Do you remember what they trained you to do in Camp Barclay?
Well, I was a combat medic.
Medic.
That was my title.
Good.
I was a medic, but I was a combat medic. That meant I was with the infantry.
Right. Well, did you know anything about medicine? Why did they?
We took a crash course.
Okay.
We had to learn what bottle meant, what was in it, why you took it, and we had to learn the essentials of treating a man who's just been shot or wounded, and you had to do something in a hurry.
All right. So from Camp Barkley, did they send you over to Europe?
Let's see. Try to think.
He served in the Pacific.
Can you help me, Tim?
He's got the
Well,
Asiatic Pacific
was-
Theater.
Barkley, he went to San Francisco.
So you were fighting against the Japs and not the Germans, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But after
We were fighting to take the Philippines back from the Japanese. They had taken over the Philippines, and they ruled the Philippines.
and then San Francisco to the Pacific.
Okay.
But we moved up from the south being New Guinea, and we moved north when we moved into we moved, and I lived right on the international date line.
Mm-hmm.
If you know where that is, it's a body of water between New Guinea and the Philippines.
Okay.
There's a little body of water, and it's at it. The international date line crosses right through there,
All right.
and I was stationed right on the international date line.
Now, when you went from San Francisco to get over to the Philippines, did you go by plane or boat?
He went on a troop
That's
ship.
something.
Did you go on a troop ship?
We were on a ship. It
Troop
was
ship.
boat.
Okay.
It was boat.
Do you remember where you landed? Did you land directly in the Philippines or did you land in New Guinea?
We landed in New Guinea, but we didn't stay there long. We stayed right on the international date line, which was the little gap of water between the Philippines and New Guinea.
Okay.
We lived right on the water for a while.
Then did you go into the Philippines?
Yeah, we started a move to take the Philippines back from Japan. That move meant moving about 100 miles north and taking over the land and the property and the rights that the Japanese had taken from us.
All right.
I was sent in there to take it back,
Okay.
and eventually we did after 100 and some days.
Well, were you right in the thick of the battle with being a medic?
Yeah, I was a medic.
But were you
And-
right in the thick of things?
Yeah, I spent 165 days, and I got somewhere here. There's a little booklet that tells about that.
Right. We've got that.
All right, that tells a lot about that. What happened in that amount of days? I had to. Well,
Did you have to treat?
pardon?
Did you treat combat wounds?
Yeah, I had to treat people. In fact, as some of this was written, I was laying in a foxhole with two other guys, and the Japanese kept throwing hand grenades in on us in that foxhole, and we'd grab them and throw them back,
That's how he got his Purple Heart.
and I did get wounded in that.
But you guys, how many were in the foxhole with you?
2 or 3. It wasn't just one of them round kind. It was a long, we call it a slit trench.
Slit trench, okay.
A slit trench. We were laying in there, and I had a dying man on my left arm, and I was trying to keep him going a few more minutes of life, and I gave him morphine
Gave him morphine.
once, but there was a clause in there that somebody that knew they couldn't live, you'd venture to break that rule and give them 2 shots of morphine. I gave this man 2 shots of morphine, and he died in my arms a few minutes after I gave it to him.
Was he one of your buddies or somebody you didn't know?
You know, he was somebody we knew.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Now names, I'm
All right,
a little off on that.
that's all right. So while you're taking care of this fellow, the Japanese are throwing hand grenades into your slit trench?
Yeah, while I was tending to him, the Japanese were still throwing grenades in on us.
All right,
And as we could, we threw them back.
all right. Well,
See, they were in a big cave.
I'll ask you some more about that. We're not on the camera right yet. We're just kind of warming up.
That we are.
We are? Okay.
I've been recording all of this.
I didn't know that she was recording us.
Oh,
It's good.
All right, so let's continue on then. After this fellow dies in your arms, what happens, Wiley? Look
well,
at the camera.
okay, look at the camera.
Yes.
Well, he died in our arms, and the Japanese kept coming out of his cave and throwing
Grenades.
what do we call them?
Grenades?
Hand grenades.
Hand grenades.
Hand grenades in on us, and of course we threw them back. We had to exist, because we left them in there. But some of them we didn't get to throw back in time, and we in that cave, in that
Slit trench.
slit trench I was in, we had a big 5-gallon can of water, and one of their grenades hit our can of water, knocked a hole in it. All our water run out on us in that cave. And we got to figuring there ain't no way we were going to get that guy this way. So what we did was we got a plan, and we
Is that when you got the guy with the flamethrower
yeah.
to burn him out
Oh
of the
yeah.
cave?
The guy had the Japanese had the advantage. He had come to the mouth of his cave, and he'd douse us with hand grenades.
Yeah.
We couldn't do nothing about it as long as that situation was going. So we decided we gotta get some kind of strategy to get rid of this guy that's in the cave. Well, we decided, one of our guys brought us up
The flamethrower?
a flamethrower. The Army had flamethrowers.
Right.
They brought that flamethrower up, and the next time that guy opened his cave door to bombard us, we turned that flamethrower on him.
So who did that? You didn't do that. One of your guys.
Well, we did that.
Well, how about you? What did you do?
I was a part of getting rid of him.
Okay.
But anyway,
Now let me back you up here a minute. You said he would open his cave door. Was there a door in the cave that the Japanese soldier was in?
yeah,
What kind of a door was it? Was it wood or metal or what?
I can't remember what it was, but it kept us out of there as long as we couldn't keep that door open. So we decided we had to get some grenades and throw them in that door when he had it open.
Okay.
and that naturally that killed him.
But I thought you had a flamethrower that got him.
Well, there was a flamethrower involved too,
Okay.
and
Did you do any of the actual fighting, or were you busy taking care of the wounded?
well, when somebody's throwing grenades at you, you go and pick them up and throw them back at him.
All right.
And in that sense, I participated in the fighting.
Okay.
But then when I got a chance, this guy that's laying in my arms dying, I decided that we got to do something to save him. And well, my mind.
Well, he died in your arms, and
He
then what-
died. He died in my arms.
did you guys take him someplace? Did you take him to a camp or anything?
We couldn't right then.
What did you do?
We just stayed in that hole and protected a dead corpse. And
But when the fellas killed the Japanese guy that was in the cave, then what did you do?
well, naturally we had more liberty then.
Right.
We had liberty, and we got busy trying to save the guy that had been wounded. And I have to think a little. But I know we.
Was this on the Was this in the Philippines?
Oh yeah,
Philippine Island?
this was right, slightly at and above the international date line.
Okay.
That was on
If you know where the international date line is,
No, Tim said something
it
about
runs exactly between New Guinea and the Philippines.
Yeah, that was on.
There's a little
Luzon.
body of water.
now your son said something about your son Tim was telling us something about Luzon. Were you on Luzon?
Oh sure,
Is that where this was taking place?
it's the big island of the Japanese islands was Luzon.
Were you on that island?
Yeah,
Is that where this flamethrower and the Jap soldier throwing grenades at you? Was that on Luzon?
generally that was in the area
Oh.
where he was hiding in the cave till he got an opening, and he'd bombard us with bombs.
Well, after that soldier was killed, did you go into that cave to see what it was like at all?
I think later on we did, but at the moment we were concerned only with going north enough to what was it?
What was the unit that you were in?
The 25th Infantry Division. But I was a medic
Right.
attached to that division.
What rank were you?
I was a corporal.
When did you become a corporal? You didn't go in as a corporal?
No, they promoted me right while I was in combat.
Now, when you were
Look up.
you're supposed to be looking at him.
I know.
When you were in that trench, did you get injured that resulted in you getting a Purple
I got
Heart?
a piece of shrapnel into my right leg, and it was enough to give me a Purple Heart. So that little piece of shrapnel I got in my leg, when they found out about it, they sent me up with a Purple Heart.
Well, did that did the shrapnel in your leg impair your ability to take care of the troops?
No, it was a tiny bit of shrapnel. that went in my leg.
Is that the Purple Heart you got?
It looks like it.
Hold it up a little higher, sweetie. Thank you. Okay.
So I got a Purple Heart out of that piece of shrapnel.
He told me years ago he didn't even know that he was wounded till after everything settled down, because he was busy taking.
I was so
care of
busy taking care of them, I didn't pay no much attention to that little piece of shrapnel that I had in my leg.
When did that strike you that you'd been injured? When did you realize that?
Well, while I was taking care of the other situation around us, I became aware that I had a piece. I told my captain that I had a piece in my leg.
Sit up a little bit.
Pardon?
Dad,
Sit up a little
Dad,
bit.
Oh.
Keep,
look here
Oh.
while you're
There we
talking.
go. Yeah.
Oh,
I know it's hard because we don't have a back for you to lean up on.
yeah.
So what else? What else happened during these 165 days you were over there in the Philippine area? What else did you do?
Well, we started north. See, the place we wanted to get to in the Philippines was way up north of in Philippines where we were. We at first were in that little body of water, which is called the International Date Line, and it is separated by New Guinea on your south, and these other little countries north.
Okay,
There's a body of water. It's called the International Date Line.
right.
I waded around in that water for days.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Or were you in any other combat besides in this slit trench?
Oh yeah, we
Well, tell me some more.
decided finally that it was time.
Dad,
I'm
keep looking at the camera.
we decided that it was time to move on. So we moved upward north
Yeah.
in the Philippines,
Okay.
and we got far enough that we were able to establish a little aid station.
All right.
And we set up our headquarters from that.
Well, what kind of excuse me? What kind of an aid station was it? Was it tents, or did they construct a building?
It was a little tent, army tent. It was big enough that they could put the medical equipment and stuff under it.
Did you have any surgeons in that tent?
There was maybe one.
How many medics were in your group?
Well, let's see. At times there was 2 or 3, but some of them got wounded, and I guess some killed. And anyway, we didn't stay in that situation long. But
What did you wear in combat? Did you have a steel helmet?
yeah.
Did you have a?
I didn't wear the liner all the time. Your steel helmets had a little helmet liner, but it didn't keep bullets out. So if we wanted the best protection, we wore the big steel cap down over the liner.
Okay.
That's the only thing that kept us from getting head wounds. Is when
Did you have a medic symbol on your helmet?
oh yeah, that just made a good target for the Japanese.
That's what I'm
They didn't
thinking.
pay no attention to that.
That's what I'm thinking.
They didn't honor the Geneva Treaty. The Geneva Treaty said you're not supposed to shoot medics. The Japanese said we'll shoot everyone we can find.
So you lost some of your buddies that were
Yeah,
medics.
oh yeah. Yeah, I lost buddies because they weren't protected by the Geneva Treaty.
Right. Right.
Treaty. because the Japanese didn't respect the treaty.
Well, let me ask you, before you were able to set up this hospital facility, what kind of accommodations did you have? Did you have any kind of protection for doing your medic work out in the field?
We had our pack that we carried on our back. It had all our essential equipment, medical treatment.
All right.
Treatment. And if we couldn't find it on our back, we didn't have it. But we carried that big old medical pack on our back about all the time.
Did you have to carry any wounded soldiers yourself?
Yeah, I've had to help soldiers that were wounded, and when one got wounded, we brought him in our fold, I'll put it, as much as we could, and we tried to protect him.
Well, what kind of treatment? You told me about giving morphine shots, but what other kind of treatment did you give to wounded soldiers?
Morphine was one of the bigger ones. Now you could give one shot of morphine legally. More than one shot, you had to use your own discretion.
But did you do any?
If you thought he had a chance and could live, we'd give him a second shot of morphine. If we thought there was absolutely no chance for him to come through it, well, we looked at it in a different light.
Well, did you sew up any wounds, or did you remove any bullets or anything?
We didn't remove bullets or anything like that. But if somebody was wounded, naturally, I had one guy with me, and he got his kneecap blown off here.
Okay.
Well, naturally, I had to take care of that. So what I did, I got first a tourniquet.
Okay.
You know what a tourniquet is?
Sure do.
Stops bleeding.
Uh-huh.
I stopped the bleeding in his leg. I put it right around here. Then I went to work on his knee, and I put a tourniquet. What you call it?
Did you put a patch on it?
I put a patch over the knee.
Okay.
Anyway, and I put a big bandage around that. And,
Did you give him any medication to stop infection or anything?
You mean the guy was wounded?
Yeah.
Yeah, we gave him what medications we had,
Okay.
which wasn't much. You can't put much in a little
In your backpack.
Backpack.
All right.
But anyway, that's what little we had to help the wounded was in that backpack.
Did you eventually get that fellow back to a larger medical facility? The fellow that had his kneecap blown off?
Oh yeah. We actually gave him 2 shots of morphine. No, wait, that's the one that died. The one that died, we just went ahead and gave him the second shot.
Okay.
Because you weren't justified in giving second shots of morphine.
But the fellow that had his kneecap blown off, you gave him 1 shot of morphine?
We did for a while.
How did you get from one location to another? Were you walking, or did you ride in a Jeep or a truck?
A slit trench is about from here to the wall there.
So that's about
And it's-
15 feet?
Yeah, something like that. And 4 of us lived in a slit trench.
Okay.
And we took care of anybody that come our way. We got them in that slit trench with us. And if it was morphine they needed, we gave them morphine.
All right.
If it's something else that could prolong their life, we gave them that.
So this slit trench, did that serve as kind of a first aid station?
Oh, definitely. A slit trench was a heaven. If you could have a slit trench, you were indeed fortunate. Because
They also called them foxholes too.
they always said they called it a foxhole, but anyway, anytime you could, you got either as flat to ground as you could or under the ground as you could. And it was far better to be under the ground when the fighting was going on than it was to be above the ground.
Did you have any kind of a weapon? Did you have a 45 or a rifle?
I had about a different weapon every day. You had a gun one day, and the next day you lost it, and you picked somebody else's gun that got killed up.
One carbine.
And we used their gun. I had different guns every day.
Did you ever have an M1 carbine?
Oh yeah, we had them. But they were so long and awkward. It was better to have a revolver than it was a rifle. A revolver worked better than a rifle did.
Now, when your troop was under attack, did you ever have to fire a weapon yourself?
Oh, we threw grenades galore.
Did you ever shoot your pistol or shoot a rifle?
Shot. Yeah, I guess we shot both, but not much because you're doing it not out of any accuracy. I guess you were more or less doing it to frighten your enemy away.
Okay. So when the fighting's going on, you're busier taking care of the wounded than you were trying to shoot the enemy.
Oh, sure. Taking care of the wounded was foremost.
Well, when you moved from one location to another, did you move by jeep or by truck or just walk?
Well, here's a mountaintop. On this side, a few feet away is the Japanese. On the other side, a few feet away, you are.
Okay.
All the Japanese had to do is move over the top. Then he was in your land.
Yeah.
And you had to keep him, no matter what you had to do to keep him on his side, you had to try to do that, to keep him on his side. Because if he got over on your side, and then you were real disadvantaged.
Well, the Japanese were always pretty well dug in, weren't they, in caves?
Oh yeah. They had a long time to dig in, and we moved in there suddenly, so we didn't have no long time to do anything.
Well, did the Japanese attack any of your bases at night, or was this mostly daytime action?
Oh yeah, they had banzai attacks at night. Banzai meant suicide. They had suicide attacks at night, and they'd come at you regardless for their safety, and they'd throw grenades and everything else in on you, and you had to deal with them, try to get them out of your way or to get them back out of being your problem. Back, we'd throw them back at them. In other words, it was a grenade throwing contest.
All right.
Who can throw the most grenades?
Throw the most and throw the most accurate, huh?
Yeah.
How about machine gunners? Did you have machine gunners in your squad?
Machine gunners were fewer because a machine gun's a bigger item, and it's hard to handle in a little dugout called a foxhole.
Okay. All right. Did you have any periods of time when you were not in the combat zone? Did you get any R&R anywhere?
Well, yeah, we'd get a little break sometimes.
Where would you go on those breaks?
Nowhere. We'd just stop fighting.
Okay.
That was a break.
Yeah.
Oh, if you stopped fighting for a little while, that was a dandy break.
Well, what kind of food did you have?
Food,
Right.
chocolate bars mostly. Chocolate bars were called Class D rations. That's as low as you could go. Is get a chocolate bar to live on. And I've had days when I had to live on a chocolate bar.
Well, did you have any packs of C rations or K rations?
You had them, and they come. You had to heat them up to use them up properly. We had to open a can and put it over a little flame element that would heat them up. And
Did you get cigarettes in the packages?
yeah, you once in a while you got some cigarettes.
Did you smoke when you were in the service?
I smoked some. I think I might have started up smoking when I was in that situation.
Okay. How about alcohol? Did you have any beer to drink or any alcoholic beverages at camp?
Well, that wasn't your biggest worry. You didn't want something to drink at the habit or at the expense of having to give up food and something essential. So
Did you ever take any Japanese prisoners?
no,
Okay.
we killed quite a few,
Right. Right.
but
How long was he there?
yeah, it's
How about your nighttime? Tell me what you would do at night when you weren't having any battle during the daytime. What were you doing at nighttime to sleep or relax?
well, when we were hoping nobody would throw a grenade in the hole with us. If they did, they disturbed our peace terrible.
Did you always sleep in a foxhole?
Almost always. There was a saying, Mother Earth was your best enemy. Well, below Mother Earth, in a foxhole, was a better enemy than just Mother Earth.
You mean not an enemy, your best friend?
It was your best friend.
Best friend was a foxhole?
But you were always told when things are flying around you, get as close to the ground, Mother Earth they called her. Get as close as you can to Mother Earth. Flatten out as flat as you can get. And most of the time, a lot of stuff would go on over you. Like sometimes the artillery would zone in, their enemy artillery would zone in on us. And then when that happened, you'd hear a zoom coming over your head. That meant somebody was shooting over you. You didn't worry about the ones you could hear go over you. The ones you worried about is the ones that whistled out here, and then when they got right to where they were ready to fall, because when a shell was ready to do damage, it started falling. It carried through the air with speed. until it got ready to fall. Then it
stopped
fell.
making
So it
noise.
stopped making noise
It,
when it began its fall.
when it stopped making noise, that's when you started worrying. Cause you know it was going to fall near you.
Uh-huh.
And when they start falling, I'd get as close as I could get to the ground, as flat as I could get.
Did you get any other raises in rank besides corporal while you were over there?
No, I stopped off at corporal.
All right. What would you say is the most memorable thing that you did while you were over in the Philippines or Luzon or wherever else you served? What do you remember the most?
I'm trying to think.
Now you got a Bronze Star for something. What was that for?
That was considered for bravery in action or something like that.
You know where you got that? What you did?
I got it in that same little hill where everything else was happening, where
Where they were throwing grenades in your trench, in your foxhole, or was
Yeah.
this another time?
well, I'm trying to think.
Well, you must have been saving somebody to get that Bronze Star.
Well, yeah, we had to go, say, the enemy's about 15 foot away, but there's just, but the enemy has got some of our soldiers pinned down till they can't do nothing. We had to go against the enemy and free those people that were a product of the enemy for a while. They were
Uh-huh.
they were captives.
Okay.
The enemy captured them, and it was a job to get somebody away from one of them once in a while.
Did you help do that?
Yeah, the enemy would be 15 foot away, but we'd have one of our men down 7 or 8 foot away. We had to brave that little distance to get to him, to relieve him, or make him be released by the enemy,
Uh-huh.
which was just a little farther away. It was so hard to describe, because there was two mountain peaks. This side was the enemy, this side was us. But we were on the side of it that was almost at the top of it. When you reached the top of it, you were dead meat for the enemy. So you had to make sure that when you moved, that move was going to be, you're going to still be alive after that move was over.
You wanted the move to be done in a safe fashion.
Yeah.
How long was he there, Patrick?
Let's see. I'm going to talk about, you got a victory medal. Your records say you got a victory medal. You remember that?
Yeah.
And you got a Asiatic Pacific Theater ribbon with a Bronze Star.
Yeah.
You got the Philippine Liberation ribbon
Yeah.
with a Bronze Star.
Yeah.
You got a good conduct ribbon.
Yeah.
And you got a purple.
They said I had the good conduct.
I like that.
Well, is there some reason why you think you didn't deserve a good conduct medal?
No, not that, but I thought it kind of funny that you describe a combat action as good conduct.
Well, it's good conduct if
The
you're.
two don't
Point.
the two don't dwell together very well.
Patrick,
Well,
there's one of them.
it's good conduct if you're
Yeah.
if you're beating the enemy, isn't it?
Just,
Pardon?
It's good conduct if you're beating the
That's
enemy.
thank you.
Yeah, I guess that is. What is that?
That's your
It's one of your ribbon, and you've got stars on there.
Oh yeah, that's some of my decorations,
Okay.
but I can't name them all.
Of the 165 days, how many of those days were you actually in combat? All of them?
It took. Let me put it this way. Down in the valley is where everything happened. Up on the sides of the hill is where the different action happened. The two big mountains come together like that, and they formed a little deep valley. And at the bottom of that valley is where we
Is that where you were stationed?
were down usually at the bottom of that.
Okay.
And
Well, were you in that area for 165 days, or did you go other places?
there was two mountains that come together, and down at the bottom of them mountains was a pass that went through them two mountains,
Right.
but it was way down low.
Yeah.
It was called Belady Pass.
Belady Pass?
Yeah. There's a little book I've got here if I could ever find it. But my son may know where it is.
It's right here.
Oh, that's it. That tells you about Belady Pass.
You guys called it Bloody Pass, didn't you?
You call it Bloody Pass?
we lost so many people, we renamed it. We didn't call it Belady Pass, we called it Bloody Pass. Because we lost a lot of blood in that mountain.
You need to get a copy of that and read it.
Well, this book says that you landed on Legayen Beach on the island of Luzon. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Is that where you first landed?
I think so.
Okay. How did you get unloaded on the beach? Did you have equipment to unload you, or was that hand?
The ship could only come, a big ship could only get so close to a beach because the water's too shallow for them to travel the kind of water they had to travel. So what they did was they'd get as close as they could get, and then they'd unload you out into the water, and there was another little island closer to the shore. We'd have to try to get from where the ship dropped us off to that other island. And
Could you walk there?
no, well,
Was the water shallow enough to walk, or did you have to take boats to get to the other island?
to get to the other island, if the tide, it depended on when the tide was in.
Okay.
If the tide was in, you had to swim.
Okay.
If the tide was out, you could walk out there in the water. But you had to know the timing of the water when that happened.
Right. Now, speaking of water, while you were over there in the Philippines, did you have a chance to bathe and try to clean yourself up?
No chance for that.
Did you have any streams or anything you could bathe in?
I think bathing was probably one of the least things concerning you when we're in that situation.
How about keeping your clothes clean? Did you wash them in the streams?
I'll tell you one way I kept them clean. When the ship run through the water, I'll have to start at the beginning. If we needed clothes that needed to be washed, we took them off, walked around naked, and we hung our clothes on the side of the ship, and let them drag through the seawater. And the seawater cleaned them. Well, of course there was a problem to that. They were so full of salt.
Yeah.
The time they drug something through the water, you had to shake the salt out of it before you could wear it.
Trusting, yeah.
But several of us, I've stood around naked with no clothes because I had them hung over the ship to get them warm. I mean, get them washed. That's the big fault. When they go through the water, they picked up salt. The ocean's heavy with salt. And when we would be in that situation, we'd take our clothes off, hang them over the ship with a rope, drag them through the water, and that would clean them. But then when we got them, before we could wear them, we had to shake the salt out.
Shake the salt out.
It was, but we rather wear salty clothes than none at all. So that's what we did. We wore salty clothes till we had a chance to shake the salt out of them.
Do you remember going through a cemetery in San Manuel? In a cemetery in San Manuel? You remember doing that? And you had tanks?
Well, I can't, not particular.
Did you ever see General MacArthur?
I tell you, we walked, you know, when MacArthur left, he said, "I shall return." Well, he did return, but let me tell you how he returned. We cleaned the camp up that we were in. We took great pains to clean it up for MacArthur. So we want him to have a welcome mat back to the Philippines. Well, it come time that he's supposed to come back. we my mind comes and goes. But anyway,
you had the camp cleaned up, waiting for him. Did he come to camp?
We had a camp cleaned up, ready for him to come and spend a little time with us. We went all great lengths to clean the camp. We did clean it all, cleaning we could do at the camp. Well, when MacArthur came, we thought he was going to come and spend a little time with us.
Uh-huh.
He sailed down the canal to wave at us and went on and never even stopped. After we spent all that time preparing things for him to have a nice place to come to. He went flying by in a boat. And that's that was our visit with MacArthur.
Uh-huh.
I think there was a lot of mad people.
If you ever watch the old TV series MASH, they have an episode where they're cleaning up the 407 7th because MacArthur's coming for a visit, and he's reading. And when he comes, he just goes through. He's in the back of a Jeep reading a newspaper.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
The only person he takes notice of, Klinger was standing there dressed as a Statue of Liberty, and when he looked up, he saw that. He saluted that, and they just kept going. Dad said that reminded him of when MacArthur was coming to visit them.
Yeah, he didn't spend no time with any of us to talk to us.
So what had you done to help clean up the camp? What did you personally do?
Clean up the camp?
Yeah. What did you yourself do?
Well, there wasn't nothing I could do until we officially took it back over.
He means, what did you sweep? Did you?
Yeah. What did you do to get the camp ready for
Police the
MacArthur?
area.
Did you wash up anything, or did you sweep or clean?
Anything?
Oh, we
You yourself.
yeah, I hung I took off naked and hung my clothes over the side of the ship.
No,
That's
I'm
not
talking
what
about
he's
in the
asking
camp.
you to
I'm
ask.
talking about the camp.
Camp.
When you were in camp,
I
getting ready.
I didn't worry about it in camp.
MacArthur's coming. When
Oh.
MacArthur was coming, what did you do yourself? Did you sweep or clean or
Well,
get?
naturally, we tried to keep things clean as possible, but
At that
I think staying clean was not one of the big.
At that camp, did you have a medical facility, a hospital, or anything where MacArthur was coming?
We had a little hilltop that we had a few things on that hilltop.
Okay.
MacArthur was supposed to come to that hilltop and spend some time with us.
Right.
What he come in the water around that camp and sailed right on through it and never even stopped. So we did all that
You want some
prepared.
coffee?
To drink?
Thank you. We did all of that, and it didn't happen. Any other questions? I guess I've not answered some of them very well.
Well, it's been a long time ago. Was there a place called Santa Fe that you were in the Philippines? Santa Fe? Do you remember that?
I thought Santa Fe was kind of on the border.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you see any napalm bombing?
Did we see it?
Did you see airplanes using napalm bombs against the Japanese?
No.
Did you experience any air attacks from the Japanese while you were in the Philippines? Did they have any bombs
Oh
or
yeah.
fighters that?
When you were on that little island, they would send artillery and everything else over you. And one we learned how to receive artillery. If I'm here and I hear a whistling sound coming at me from this direction, and all at once I don't hear it anymore, better duck, better hit the ground. Because when they start to fall, they come to the earth. When artillery comes, starts whistling, stops whistling, you're in danger. If it whistled overhead, you didn't worry.
You're okay.
Because it was going on past you. It went right on past you.
Let me ask you if you remember any of these places that are in your book. Wolfhound Ridge, do you remember that? Wolfhound Ridge?
Well, not particularly.
Do you remember Cagayan Valley? Cagayan Valley?
Yeah, I vaguely do.
Cagayan?
Cagayan
Yeah.
Valley.
Does the name Bolong, B-O-L-O-N-G, does that sound familiar to you?
Well, you passed through so many places that most
There's
of.
a place in there that he used to talk about called Lone Tree Hill.
Oh, Lone Tree Hill. They bombed that hill so much It got a tie. It blowed every tree down
So,
on that tree. The Japanese did, and that we renamed it Lone Tree Hill.
because there was only one
Because
tree
there
left.
was no forest, nothing left.
Oh, the Japanese destroyed the trees?
Oh yes,
It wasn't
it was a lone
Americans.
tree. You know, it had one tree left.
But it wasn't the Americans that blew it up, it was the
It was the
Japanese.
Japanese doing it.
Where were you while that was going on?
We were down there,
Down in the valley?
down in the valley, like.
Besides your shrapnel wound, did you have any other wounds during your war?
No, I guess the one I got in the leg here, that's the one I got the Purple Heart on.
That's the only one.
Yeah.
Now, your book says the men of the 27th. What was the 27th?
It was one of the regiments of the 25th Infantry Division.
Okay. And they stormed Lone Tree Hill down Wolfhound Ridge. Does that?
I remember Wolfhound Ridge.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was in the 27th Regiment of the 25th Infantry Division. He
Yeah.
was a medic assigned to that. I guess that's why Lone Tree Hill sticks out.
Sticks out in his mind, yeah.
See, what did he do when he came back?
Do you remember a place they called Maggot Hill? Maggot Hill?
No.
Okay. How did you leave the Philippines? Were you still in the service or were you discharged out of the Philippines? Did they send you home?
I wasn't discharged there,
Actually,
but
after this Japanese surrendered, he was sent to Japan and as an occupying force.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the Japanese surrendering?
yeah.
And how did you find out that Japan had surrendered?
It come over the news sellers.
Okay.
I can't bring the details together, but
Do you remember where you were when you heard that?
I'm still in that foxhole in south of the Philippines.
Okay. After the Japanese surrendered, were you assigned someplace else? Were you assigned to go to Japan?
No,
Yeah, you went to Japan.
I mean, yeah, eventually,
You,
but
where did you go before you went to Japan?
where did I go?
From the Philippines, before you went to Japan, where did you go?
Well,
Did you go any place for rest? Did you go to Hawaii or did you come back home before you went to Japan?
I can't hardly put that together. Yeah.
When you went to Japan, what were your duties in Japan? Were you in an occupation force?
I was a combat medic. That was my title.
This is a notebook he kept back then. Here's the.
I was called.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little notebook that I made of different things that happened different times.
He's got VJ Day in there. Wow.
VJ Day, that's Victory over Japan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and VE Day was Victory Europe,
Right.
and
That's a treasure. You ought to photocopy.
yeah, there's a lot of information in that little. That's my personal notebook.
Well, I'll tell you what, the
Fabulous.
Library of Congress might be interested
And a copy.
in some of your notes here.
Oh, yeah. That
You have some names here. Harry Adams from Paris, Texas. You remember Harry? You remember Gordon Lester?
Some of them,
These are names in your note. Charles Hedges.
that's people I come to know a little bit.
Okay. Angel Mallender.
Who?
Angel Mallender.
Seems like I remember him.
Russ Weatherald. George Walker. These are names that you have in your little notebook.
Amazing.
And in your notebook, you have some notes about D-Day, June 6th. There was an invasion. How did you find out about that?
June 6th,
1944. How did you learn that the Allies had invaded France?
I don't know how I learned about that.
Did you have access to news on the radio over there in the Philippines?
No. No, well, maybe little bits and pieces, but not as a rule, no.
How about
TV either.
how about
Right here.
did you write home or did you get any mail from home when you were in the Philippines?
Censor their mail when they.
I think that
And these-
thing he's holding in his hand over there,
They've
I'll
had
tell
to
you
censor so much of Dad's letters.
let him see that,
Just sent,
Tim.
Okay.
yeah, a card to him.
That was the kind of mail we had to write. Let him bring that over here so he can see it.
Yeah.
Now that's some things, letters I wrote home
But
to my mother when I was
the military
overseas.
censored them,
Yeah.
and they had to cut so much out of the letters that the military would just send a, one of them says it's at Easter time and one's Christmas, and
You see those?
Anytime you wrote home, your letter was scanned by the military personnel. If there was anything in it that might endanger
Yeah.
something that was going on, they canceled it. So
Okay, so they just sent a
your
card
mother or
back.
father didn't get the whole thing.
Uh-huh. Well, did you have a girlfriend back home?
No, I don't think so.
When did you meet Hazel?
Oh, that was quite a while after coming back home.
it's 1948, wasn't it?
Did
Yeah,
you have a girlfriend in school?
No,
So you didn't have any girls you were writing to or writing
no,
to you while you were in the service?
no.
How long were you in Japan? Do you remember?
I'm trying to figure.
Well, you got out of service in January of '46.
Yeah,
Were you discharged from Japan? Or did you come back home and then they discharged you at home?
He came back to the States. It's on that thing there, it says he was discharged at Camp Atterbury, Indiana.
I guess I did come back before I was actually discharged.
Do you remember Camp Atterbury in Indiana?
Oh yeah,
Did you come back to Camp Atterbury?
I can't hardly remember them names.
Camp Atterbury is in Indiana.
Yeah, I know it's one of the military stations in Japan, and
In the States.
in the States.
So while you were in Camp Atterbury, that's when you got discharged out of the military.
Well,
And that was January 20, 1946.
that's when I got discharged.
Yeah.
When well,
Do you remember how you got to Camp Atterbury? Was it a train ride or was it an airplane?
I believe it was a train ride,
Okay.
a long train ride.
Do you know where that was from? Was that from San Francisco or Washington or?
I had one ride from the Washington area,
Washington State?
and
or
I
what?
rode. I took that ride all the way from California to Chicago.
All right.
Then I got to Chicago. I took a train from Chicago to Cincinnati.
Oh no, to Camp Atterbury.
Atterbury, and yeah.
So when did you see your folks the first time when you came back to the States?
I can't remember.
They were both still living, weren't they? When you got out of service, your mom and dad were both
Yeah.
living?
He went back to Kentucky
Yeah.
after he got discharged, and that's when he was saying earlier he decided to come to Cincinnati because there wasn't no
Yeah, when I
down there.
when I finally got to the United States, I went to my home in Kentucky, and I lived there
Dad again.
for about a year. But I come to find out there was no jobs available. And that's when I decided to come to Cincinnati.
What did you do for that year? Were you helping your dad on the farm?
Yeah, I just worked around on the farm.
How did you get to Cincinnati? Did you take a bus or did you have a car?
I guess it took a bus, I guess.
When you came to Cincinnati, did you get a job?
Pretty soon I got a job, and
What were you doing?
I was working at the Brenneman Shade Factory. That was out here on Reading Road,
And what were you doing for Brenneman?
helping them build window shades.
Okay. How long did you do that?
A few months.
Then where did you go to work?
Fisher.
I heard that somebody told me, says they're hiring up at Hamilton, Fisher-Body. I said, well, that sounds good. So I went up there and got on the same day. I started working at Fisher-Body in Hamilton, same day I went up there. And from that, I stayed with Fisher-Body 30-some years.
Almost 40.
37 years, I think.
That's
What did you do?
38 and a quarter.
What did you do at Fisher Body?
Well, whatever they was manufacturing.
Did you run a machine?
Yeah, part-time.
When you weren't running a machine, what were you doing?
Well, nothing. That was it.
Did you ever finish high school? Did you get a
2 years of high school.
But you never went back and went to high school anymore?
I never finished the last 2 years of high school.
Okay. When did you retire from Fisher Body? How old were you? If you worked there for over 35 years and you stayed home,
You were 62, weren't you? About my age.
I guess.
did you retire or did they lay you off?
I retired.
Well, Tim said you and Hazel got married about 1948.
1950. They dated for a couple years.
You got married in 1950?
He's saying he's probably more correct than I could be.
Where did you meet Hazel? Did you meet her in Kentucky or in Hamilton or Cincinnati?
I guess I got to know her from visiting her grandmother down in Kentucky.
Okay.
Every now and then they had a family get together.
You
And,
met her here in Cincinnati, Dad.
well, it could be.
You guys all lived in, you and your brothers and sisters and her dad, and I believe it was Walter or some of them. Y'all lived in the same apartment building. That's how you met. And you dated her cousin Irene before you met her.
Do you remember that? Do you remember what Tim's telling us?
Huh?
Do you remember what Tim is telling us, that you lived in an apartment building, she lived in the same apartment?
I guess so.
And did you date her sister before you dated Hazel?
It was her cousin,
Her cousin? Hazel's cousin? Did you date her?
Irene Hall.
Oh,
And I know because I've got pictures upstairs of you and Irene together, which was a shock to me.
yeah. I'm good to get a sip of.
And then shortly after he got married, he got saved and became an ordained minister.
Let me ask you about your brothers. Did Lloyd or Howard or Tom or Farmer, did they join the military at all? Or were they drafted?
Yeah.
They were all in.
My older brother Lloyd was assigned to a general's office over in Europe,
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
and he never actually got into combat like we did.
Was he in the Army?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the army, but he worked in a general's headquarters or something.
All right.
Eisenhower's headquarters.
How about Howard? Was Howard in the military?
Yeah, he was in the Korean War.
He was another generation of wars.
He was in Korea? Was he in Korea?
Yeah.
The Korean War?
I guess he was.
Do you know what he was? Was he a Marine or Army or?
He was in the Army.
How about Tom? Was Tom in the military?
Yeah, he was in Korea too.
Yeah, he says Brother Tom was younger than Howard was.
And how about Farmer? Was he military too?
Farmer,
He was in the Army between Korea and Vietnam.
Was Tom in the Army too? All of you fellows were in the Army?
Yes.
I guess we all at one time
Uh-huh.
were.
Uh-huh. All right. So you and Hazel got married. Did Hazel have a job?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you remember any job she had?
She was working at the Brenneman Shade Company, I think.
No. At Baldwin's.
Baldwin. That's right, Baldwin's.
What did Baldwin do? What did she do? What did they make?
Pianos and organs.
Baldwin Piano and Organ Company?
Yeah, the big building.
I guess so.
All right.
Right out of Eden Park. there.
So you and Hazel had one child, Tim, right?
Yeah.
And Tim right now is 62?
You are.
Yeah, I'm sick. I just turned 62 on the 22nd of May.
Oh, my brother's birthday is. Yeah, but he's old.
If you had the opportunity to do it over again, would you join the Army?
I don't know.
If you had to join the Army, would you be a medic again?
March 25th, 1950.
Well, I guess a medic was a good position to have. So, yeah, you learned a lot about medications and things like that when you're a medic.
Now, Tim said when you came back, you also became a minister.
Oh yeah.
Tell me a little bit about being a minister.
Well, I don't know if any of you ever heard of a religious broadcast over Middletown, Ohio. It was Chandler, LP Chandler put it on every week, and I spoke on the air once a week
Good.
for some number of time.
Was that on Sunday or Saturday or?
It would be on Sunday because his broadcast was on Sundays.
Okay.
Broadcast, and I dealt with that a while.
Where were you living at that time?
Here,
Cincinnati?
yeah.
And you would drive up to Middletown and get on his program?
No, I'd drive over to 1723 Vine Street.
On Vine Street.
That's
okay.
where his program come through Vine Street
Oh, okay.
in Ohio.
Wow.
Every Sunday, LP Chandler program was put on the air from 1733 Vine Street.
How long did you do that?
Years. I can't remember how many.
He also preached at other churches too.
Did you go to other churches and preach in person?
Yeah, a few times. But my main place was over the air coming from WPFB 1723 Vine Street, Ohio. That's where my main service was coming from.
Well, what happened in your life that made you want to become a minister?
Well, I felt God called me into that. I believe you have to get a call in to do something like that. You have to be called to do
All
it.
right.
It's just part of my life.
And how did Hazel view that? Did she like that?
She didn't mind it. She never done anything to hinder it.
Okay. But we've been here for a good while. Mary, do you have any things that you want to ask Wiley?
I just want to say thank you for being a medic. Thank you. Those boys needed you.
And your son Tim, he's been helping us out here. Tim, is there anything you want to ask your dad or you want to mention?
Well, it's a shame we couldn't have done this a few years earlier when things were more, because I've heard over the years growing up, I've heard them. That's why I've been kind of jumping in to try to jog him into
Remembering some of the things that happened to him, yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate your help.
Yeah. Bad, isn't it?
Yeah, tell them about how you learned how to play harmonica, and you taught yourself,
Oh.
but you do it.
Yeah, I'm a whiz bang harmonica player.
How did you learn that?
Just
Now, don't spill that.
from picking it up and starting blowing through it.
But he holds it backwards, so he learned it.
I had a whole collection of harmonicas. I had them from that size up about that long.
Oh, really?
I got one big one about that long.
So where do you play the harmonica? Do you just play it for yourself, or do you ever
Well, I played it wherever I was, mostly at home, because I had them in a bag. I'd be hard put to tell you where they are right now.
Did you play the harmonica when you were in the service?
No,
You learned it afterwards. You learned the harmonica after you got out of military.
well, I don't know. I just picked it up and started blowing on it.
But that was after the Army.
Yeah, well, it was mostly after the Army.
Okay. Can you still play the harmonica?
Yeah, if I had one.
Okay.
I've got a bag of them somewhere.
Now your friend Susan is here. Susan, do you have anything you want to ask him or bring up?
Well, you know, I remember when you came to Heather's with your bag of harmonicas.
It was for his 90th birthday, and there's the invitation.
Did you
on the
find it?
wall.
And you had a plastic bag and you had about a dozen harmonicas and you pulled them out and you played for us. And you played backwards and you played all kinds of wonderful songs. You played Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
I think you played some military songs.
Did you find them, Tim?
These are the ones I bought you. The ones you had.
Now
were
let me
all
see
wore
one
out.
of them.
Well, here's the key of G.
Oh,
Play In the Mood for them.
that's a little, huh?
You remember how to play In the Mood?
I hardly got the breath.
Yeah.
He taught himself
Well, that's a little bit like it.
Yeah, we don't want to wear you out. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you. Here, you want your harmonica back.
Yes, stored away.
That's the first time I've picked that harp up in years and years. I ain't got the wind that I had then.
I've heard a lot of stories that aren't war related, but I know the square dancing stories.
Square dancing
Do you go
stories.
square dancing a lot? Wiley? Remember that?
I got a big harmonica, about that long, somewhere,
Harmonicas.
and it's got a push button on it.
He's really hard of hearing too.
Oh.
He's got hearing aids that he refuses to wear. When he was in the nursing home, they made him.
Now, your separation qualification record, Wiley says you medical NCO, you worked in dispensary doing bandage wrapping on injured in field stations. You issued supplies, filled prescriptions from the storeroom, administered first aid, assisted in making inspections of kitchens, mess halls, and latrines in the Asiatic Pacific Theater of Operation. Now, do you remember doing your inspections of mess halls and kitchens?
I guess I do.
Uh-huh.
I think this picture was taken at Camp Barkley, Texas.
Circle.
Okay, let me do my magic. Okay, I may have gotten it.
I'm not
Okay.
sure though, but
Scan this.
that was before he went to the
Here's the
Pacific.
picture if you want to see. Circle.
Oh, that's a group picture, yeah.
This is a group picture. Who are all these people? Is that the unit? Is that the unit you were in?
I don't know how we
That
come.
was the basic training.
It was, I guess it was basic training,
Basic training.
because I'm in it.
Yeah. Yeah, they showed that on the camera.
But my eyes are gone so far, I
Yeah.
can't even point out myself
Actually
on
two
it.
of them pictures, and I can't find the second one. The second one that was the formal one, and the second one is they're all smiling because basic training.
Well, I can't think of anything else, Wiley. I want to thank you for this interview and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
And I wish you continued health as best you can.
Thank you.